What is up, fight fans, and Merry Christmas. Tonight, I am joined by a very active legend of this MMA game. His accolades are endless. Greatest UFC flyweight of all time, most UFC title defenses in history, pound for pound ranked fighter all the time for the last decade, and most recently the one championship flyweight Grand Prix winner on February 24th. He'll end a 16-month-long layoff when he looks to dethrone reigning flyweight champion Adriano Moraes, and that man is the mightiest of flyweights, the MMA GOAT, Demetrious Johnson. Mr. Johnson, thanks for the time to talk the latest with you and your career.
Hey, man, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the intro. It was beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's easy when you have so many accolades. It's just about choosing which one to say. That's the hardest part, honestly.
Thanks, man.
My pleasure. Now, so much to ask. I'll go right into it. When you return in February, like I mentioned, you will be ending a 16-month layoff from fighting, which is 6 months more than the next longest, which was 10 months between your Ray Borg and Henry Cejudo fights. I read your quotes on recently about how you were fearing your career could come to an end if like a second pandemic hit in the next year or so and stuff like that. I know also the financial aspect of this layoff probably doesn't hit you as hard as it does other fights, but on a competitive level, at 34, how difficult have the last 14 months been? Is there a frustration of a good prime year of career loss, or did you find positives like healing up nagging injuries and you found some big physical benefits of the time away?
I think a little bit of everything, right? Obviously, with the pandemic coming and the fight was supposed to happen last year in China, then it got switched to Jakarta, and then, everything just shut down, international traveling, et cetera, et cetera. So that was probably the most frustrating part because, yes, I am, at that time, I was 33 years old, kind of like the prime of my, as a man, as an athlete, and not even able to compete for 1 year. So that was probably the frustrating part about it. The positive I took from it is that I got to spend a lot of time with the wife, the children, helping the kids during homeschool, being able to witness, Maverick, which is my middle child, learning how to read from scratch, where it's like A, and P makes P, apple, and just see that kind of stages, because a lot of people they don't get to see that with their children unless you do homeschool. So I was able to see that, and be able to wake up every morning with the kids and cook breakfast and put them to bed. Those are the positive things, right? Those are things I'm not going to get back in life, because they are going to grow up, they are going to become adults, and they're going to think dad's cool anymore. So it's I saw some negatives and I saw some positives, and at the end of the day, we move forward. Everybody, the economy is coming back. International traveling is back now. I just came back from Singapore filming One Apprentice. So now the fight's rescheduled February 24th. Let's pray that nothing else happens. And yeah, man, we're ready to rock and roll.
What are your thoughts on ring rust? Because opinions really do differ on it. Some fighters feel it's all mental. You had that 10-month layoff in the past, like I mentioned, so you have gone through something like this, close to it before. But the world is a very different place than it was in that 10-month layoff. Has this constant, case of surges and statewide restrictions affected how you've been able to train throughout this time in a way you didn't have to deal with between the Borg and the Cejudo fight? And has it made ring rust something you have pondered in the back of your mind, because this isn't normal ways to train?
I think everybody, well, especially Washington State, we are technically on quarantine right now. So when we train, it has to be in a pod grouping. We're now is training for the Ray Borg and Henry Cejudo fight. Totally different when we had a classroom full of athletes running around here and just different sizes to train from. Right now we have groups of 4. That way we can, keep it healthy and nobody gets COVID. Obviously there's a lot of states out there that haven't shut down. You see athletes left and right popping for COVID-19. With our gym, knock on wood, we haven't had one positive case that has involved inside the gym. Like, hey, we go from the gym, we came out, one of us had COVID. If anybody from our gym has got COVID, it's been from out, out somewhere else, essentially. Right. With that being said, that's probably the hardest thing with it, with training going forward is, we have a restriction in Washington State. We were on lockdown from November 14th to December 14th. Wow. Now Governor Inslee just extended it to January 4th. Wow. So that's very frustrating. But, like you said, we're in a different world right now where there's a lot of restrictions and training. Ring rust, we'll find out. I've always been a type of athlete that comes to compete. I've always showed up and just did my thing. So we'll have to see. I'll make sure, mentally, I should be prepared. Physically, I'll always make sure I'm prepared.
Last week, we had a fight of the year level bout for the flyweight UFC title between Deiveson Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno. The fight deserved the praise it got, but there almost seemed to be like a narrative following it, like there were never great fights in the division or for the title before. Your first fight with John Dodson was a great fight. Your fight with Cejudo was also a very good historic fight. You built that division, really put it on the map for the entire sport, that weight class. In ways, do you almost feel like a flyweight Frank Shamrock in how kind of Dana White, the promotion, sort of seems to kind of gloss over your run, the pivotal moments, diminishing it to a point where, like, all of a sudden people act like, oh, Figueiredo, like, all of a sudden flyweight's just cool now or something.
No, I think this is his time to shine. He's doing an amazing work. That was a great fight between him and Brandon Moreno. And I think it's important that he is getting the shine because he is, carrying that torch now for that division, for that organization, right? Mm-hmm. So, I did great things when I was a champion for that organization. Now it's Figueiredo's time. And, same thing with him, Cejudo, when he was the flyweight champ, and then he defended the belt against TJ Dillashaw. Then he went up to bantamweight and won the bantamweight title. And then he won it, and then he defended it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's Rashad ever said it the best. The way to cope with, different people getting talked about is that the spotlight will always shine on different athletes. When it's your time to shine, you bask in it, you appreciate it, and that spotlight's going to go to a different athlete. Right now, that fight literally just happened, and it was an amazing fight from what I watched from it. So I think, it's always going to keep on turning. And then if people see me as that, that pioneer, kind of like with Ronda Rousey, how Ronda Rousey kind of led the torch for women's MMA. If people see me as that pioneer that led the torch for men's flyweight division, for me being such a dominant champion, that sounds great. That's dope. That's awesome.
Now, many folks who haven't followed Adriano's success in one will likely kind of just see this fight as a formality to you becoming a champion in the promotion because you are the bigger name for a lot of, especially the casuals. In a way, I want you to sell those casuals, the doubters, or even your fans on why this is a dangerous fight for you. And I mean more than just like, oh, anything can happen in a fight, you can't underestimate people, that kind of thing. I mean, like, on a technical level, where can he offer you some serious challenges on fight night?
Yeah, I think, one, Adriano Moraes, he's legit. He's been in the game for a very long time, kind of, fighting over in Asia. He's had back-to-back battles with J.J. Estacio, very technical. He's a great grappler, phenomenal grappler, long, big for the weight class. He loves to get on people's back. And with me being a shorter fighter, if he gets on my back, just like what Tatsumi Tuwada did, he locks up that body triangle. Then I'm spinning, half the round, or I don't know how long, trying to break that grip and protect my neck the whole entire time. So he's definitely a finisher. He goes for the finish, going from the back. And he's a game athlete. He's been in the sport for a long time, and I know he's going to come to bring it because I feel he has something to prove, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Adriano will be one of the tallest fighters you've ever faced in your career on fighting. Have you done like anything different or trained with anyone different to prepare for that kind of size standing, but also more so on the mat where he's a BJJ black belt? You brought up like how he'd get people's back and stuff like that. Explain for people watching this. You'll see it on the broadcast. Oh, he's long and lanky. That's so difficult to deal with in the mat. Why, if he were to get your back and his height and length and longness, why that's a real troublesome situation?
It's physics. When you have longer legs with somebody, you can wrap them around people and you can't unravel them. It's just physics, you know what I mean? So, and like I said, it's same thing with, with me fighting, a little, granted, I could probably make 125 if I really, really wanted to. Can I make it hydrated? Absolutely not. So, me fighting at 135, I am fighting guys who are a little bit taller than I am, to where when I was in, North America, I'm finding guys who are like 5'3", 5'4". Yeah. Now over here, you're getting a territory of 5'6" to 5'9". I think the biggest I ever fought in North America was 5'11". Now it's Miguel Torres. So when you're dealing with those guys with longer extremities and longer, just a bigger frame, it's just a lot more to deal with. Same thing with Tim Elliott. He has that awkward that stance. So honestly, it's just physics. Just a longer length, just more mass to deal with.
And I talked to you like maybe a year or so ago when you moved to one about the difference in weights and how their flyweight division differs from UFC North American flyweights. Have you gotten to a point with enough fights in one where you figured out, you know, of course I have no doubt that you feel better not having to cut as much weight, but have you figured out like a sweet spot in terms of what's the kind of right nutrition, what's the kind of, you know, maybe strength and conditioning or any additions to make yourself like a one flyweight because they are bigger guys? Has there been a period, a learning curve where you felt you learned what you needed to learn early in the run?
I think naturally I'm just a smaller guy. I mean, I've done everything in my physical power. Well, I've done a lot to try to put on weight. And I'm just a cardio machine, you know, growing up, running track, running cross country, you know, running a mile, 2 mile, 3 mile. I've just built like kind of like a cardio type of stuff body. What I mean by that is like, even when I'm trying to put on weight and I'm in the middle of training camp, I'll walk around 138. We just started training camp, you know, 2 weeks ago. And this weekend, I did a single. We sparred on Saturday, and that night I had sushi and a lot of food. Woke up weighing 139.4 pounds. So, I mean, I'm just a smaller frame guy. Yeah. To where I know some guys they get up to like 155 or 150, and I remember when I was fighting Ian McCall, he was like, dude, I walk around 151. I'm like, what the fuck? And we're fighting 121. I'm like, how do you get that big? I just don't know how to do it. And I mean, the biggest I've probably ever been, that was after surgery, was probably 145, 146. And then, you know, once I started being active again, it went down to 140, you know, so I'm just a smaller frame guy. So I don't think I've ever mastered, you know, trying to put on weight. Even though I don't have to cut an extra 10 pounds, I still think my body, I'm just such an active person. I live a healthy lifestyle. I just don't think my body can get up to where I get up to 145, solid 145, waking up, and then going to the gym and after training, after practice, walking around 142, and then have to die down to 135. I just don't think that's in my future.
You've had a career full of major achievements. I mentioned some of them earlier. Where would a one championship flyweight title rank among the rest? Just as high as your first UFC win, as high as breaking the title defense record? Would it kind of just be important in a different way? Sort of like maintaining elite status when other fighters of a similar age are starting to show the wear and tear and maybe are declining? Is it just a personal challenge to yourself, like, I can still reach the elite level this far into the game?
Well, when you're at this point in your career and at this level of mixed martial arts, you know, you're playing with windows, you're playing with small things, right? You're playing with, you know, it's a chess game, right? One little mistake and it can all be over, right? So I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't say, you know, the outcome of the fight is going to dictate, you know, where I'm at. Can I hang with the elites or whatever? Because I know I can hang with the elites, right? Stuff happens. Like, I was really watching Anthony Pettis versus Ben Henderson last night on ESPN, and Anthony Pettis caught Ben Henderson with that armbar. And I was like, you know, that was just one little mistake. That doesn't mean Ben Henderson can't hang with the best, or doesn't mean, you know, Anthony Pettis can hang with the best. It's just one little mistake. Now, if I was to go out there and I'm slowing down and I'm taking a lot of shots and I'm getting fucked up, then that's where, you know, oh man, you just getting a little old. But I don't feel that way. For me, for me to win this title, it would feel great. It would be another cement in my legacy, and it'll be cool to be able to win, you know, a world title. I know I run a Grand Prix world title, but it'd be cool to win a world title in one championship in the flyweight division.
Now, this last segment is called Five for Fighters. Going to give you 5 random kind of questions. Just give me your rapid thoughts, quick thoughts, and these kind of things. The first one is, because I know you're a gamer, best video game of 2020.
Best video game of 2020, probably the remake of Demon's Souls or World of Warcraft Shadowlands.
All right. Best movie, your personal opinion, of 2020, or more like 2019, because 2020 didn't have that many movies.
Man, you know what? Once you said that, the first thing that came in my head was Despicable Me 3. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Me and the boys been watching that for the past 2 nights, and the bad guy on there, Brat, what's his name, babe? I think his name was Brat. Just the 80s, 90s, you know, dancing, because I'm a 90s baby, so hearing the music that he danced to is been cracking me up lately. I've been actually really enjoying that movie.
Now, since you bring up the kids, but this may go different than I expected when I wrote it. More difficult challenge: defending a UFC flyweight title or being under stay-at-home orders with children for a month straight?
Ooh, if you would have put in there doing homeschool, then I would say a homeschool, because homeschool is probably the biggest challenge me and my wife have faced. Defending the title, that's easy. You train in the gym all damn day, then you go out there, you fight, you either win, you lose, it's over. But when it comes to, teaching the kids homeschool, I mean, you're basically laying the foundation of their fundamentals, right? Yeah. I mean, how they think, how they act. I'm not like, it is extremely hard. It is extremely hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life as a parent is homeschooling. And it's very hard, but I love every bit of it because it challenges me, and I take pride, I take joy of wake up in the morning, cook breakfast, like, all right, kids, we got school in 15 minutes. Tyron, you're working on science today. Maverick, you have handwriting today. And as an athlete, it would be nice to be like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym, work out. I'm not gonna work right now at school. I told my wife today, I was like, we're the Pfizer and Moderna, they're rolling out the vaccines. We got 6 months left of school, and the boys are back in school, and I cannot wait.
Now, because I'm going through the same situation here in New York, we chose to homeschool. What was your kid's learning curve on kind of just getting into a rhythm? Because my guy still acts like he forgets there's certain classes and that there's class today. Do you still have this learning curve where it's like, come on, we've been doing this for a year. Come on, damn it.
Every day I have this conversation with my children. I wake up and I say, boys, there's something called responsibilities. Okay?
Yes.
Every morning, you know what Daddy does? They go, what do you do, Dad? I'm like, I wake up, I ask you, what would you like for breakfast, Tyron? I ask very nice. I ask kind. That's exactly how I ask him. I say, Tyron, what do you want for breakfast, bud? He goes, I'll take eggs and sausage. I'm like, Maverick, what would you like for breakfast? I'll take cinnamon waffles. I make you guys breakfast. I feed you guys. Once you're done, I wash dishes. After I'm done washing dishes, I go in there and get your classroom ready, okay? This is every single day. It will never change until Saturday or Sunday, which is the weekend. I have a conversation with them every fucking day, every day. And they see when they go to bed, the next fucking day is going to be different. But it's not. It's not. So, yeah.
Being thrust into the role as an unassuming teacher, Adriano, does it make you appreciate teachers more, or can you not stand teachers more? I feel both.
I've always appreciated I've always appreciated our teachers because they're teaching our next generation. They're teaching my kids to be successful, right? My job, is to raise good human beings, and me and my wife's job is to raise great human beings, to be respectful in public, to listen to your elders. And then, it's the teacher's job to lay down the foundation of, multiplication, addition, and all that other stuff. So for us to have both roles, it's hard, but I've always appreciated our educational system.
Now, you have the means, but let's say you did not have the means and you had to choose between PS5 or Xbox Series X. What is the choice?
PS5.
All right, thank you.
PS5.
Thank you.
I think the layout of the HUD is way better. I think, I feel like if you want to play Fortnite, you don't have to have a PlayStation Network subscription, or maybe you do. I have no idea, but I've always been a PlayStation guy. I've liked both consoles, but now I feel like with Xbox, Microsoft taking advantage of their Windows, Windows operating system. You can play Xbox games on your PC to where if you want to play Demon Souls, you have to have a PlayStation 5. You want to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, you have to have a PlayStation 5. So, and that's the thing. If you want to play Halo, you just got to have the Xbox app on your PC.
Now, and this has been a constant conversation. I know you've been asked about this because it's just always ongoing, and you are always a name in the conversation. But greatest fighter of all time, in your opinion, obviously not named Demetrious Johnson. Who is your greatest fighter of all time?
I always say it's John Jones. I think what he's been able to do and what he's been able to do with two, I agree with him. And I've never seen. I think John Jones was in danger when he fought Oscar Gustafsson, but the second time they fought, it wasn't, nowhere near close. So I'll go with John Jones.
Who's then, if that's the case, who's your next three for the GOAT?
See, I go back and forth. The other day I was thinking about DC. I was like, man, DC should be up there. But then he's had his he's been knocked out by John Jones, been knocked out by Stephen Miocic. But it doesn't, discredit what he's been able to do in the sport of mixed martial arts. Then I got a guy like Gegard Mousasi, never been a world champion in the UFC, but I feel like his skill set when he shows up, he's ready to go. I think about Bibiano Fernandez, great on the ground, great on the feet, accomplished a lot. 5-time world Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, never fought in America, never fought in the UFC. Yep. So for me, I have the struggle. Like, does the greatest of all time have to fight in North America against, some of the cream of the crop of the talent? You know what I mean? Yeah. I think about I just think about so many guys that, the one that stands out for me is, John Jones. And I think about Uriah Faber. He's been such a pioneer for us little guys, where he's never wore UFC gold either. And so, you know what, when it comes to my next 3, you don't get them, because a lot of things, I think, everybody's trying to fight for this greatest of all time, but I think every single athlete has played a role in making this sport phenomenal, like a footprint. I can just name off a million athletes, not a million, but a handful of athletes that have inspired me, have carried this torch, that have done amazing, great things in the sport of mixed martial arts.